love. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for coming.
How are you both doing this afternoon? Good? Yeah?
So happy to be here. Thank you guys for coming, and we're excited to hear all your questions.
I want to kick things off with a bit of an icebreaker. It's easy enough to look at your IMDb and see what your first role is, but I want to hear it from you in case it's not on your IMDb yet. So what was your first professional role, and how has that impacted your career and the choices you've made since?
So I have two iterations of professional acting. One was in New York, and then one was when I moved to LA. So that was a very long time ago, so let me just start with LA. LA, it was a movie called Leprechaun, Back to the Hood. My character was named Rory. I found the leprechaun's gold, and I didn't want to give it back. And the leprechaun came to the hood to get his gold. If you can find it, you're gonna have fun. It's a crazy movie.
Wait, and this was in LA or New York?
This was in LA.
Okay, and what was the New York iteration?
New York was mostly stage.
Okay.
And I started to do a little bit of like a guest star here and there, but not that much.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I started off doing theater really young, but it was never something I thought that could be a career. I didn't grow up with family that, was in any creative arts. They were farmers and entrepreneurs. So it's not something I knew or understood. It was just a hobby that I loved. But my first real speaking role, let's say that, outside of doing local commercials in Dallas, Texas, was a Christmas movie called like Three Wise Guys. And I think I had maybe one line, and I was like the hot date or something like that. So listen, you could have one line where you just ask somebody if they want to go see a movie at a bar and they can turn you down, and you can still have somewhat of a career. So that's that.
Speaking of your career, I'm sure there's a lot of people out in the audience today that love The Boys, right? Yeah. I want to know about your audition process. What was the process for booking your roles?
So I auditioned in November of 2017, and it was just an audition that came through. I didn't even get the full script. I didn't know what the exact show was about. I just got the sides. And I went in for producers. Eric Kripke was actually in the room, the showrunner. And when I got there, it was just a room of buff brothers in the waiting room. I was like, all right, I can take him out, him out, him out. Those over there, I'm in trouble. But I went in and I gave it my best shot, and I noticed that in my improvisation, Kripke was dying laughing. He was cracking up. And the more he'd laugh, the more I'd improvise. And so I was like, all right, until they tell me to shut up or stick to the script, I'm just gonna keep going. And they let me keep going, and that was the beginning of the process. I was thinking, okay, now it's time for a callback, and I haven't heard anything. And my agent was like, no, there's no callback here. Like, that tape is what they're gonna judge you on. So that one shot was it. And it was going all through Sony and all through Amazon. Of course, some people had their favorites, and other people had their other favorites. And luckily, I was Eric Kripke's favorite, who fought very hard to get me the role, and here I am.
We're all just gonna sing Eric's praises. So I tested on a show called Timeless, and I actually got the lead role, Complicated, in Hollywood. I was on hold for a different show that I shot the pilot of, and I'm a very loyal person, so unfortunately when I booked Timeless, I couldn't do that role. And Eric was the showrunner along with Sean, and they had me come in and do like this cameo in the pilot. And it was wonderful and great, and life went on, and I went on to work on other things, and I was on a vacation in Spain, and I maybe had a few drinks. It was a different time zone, and I got sides for a show called The Boys. And I read the sides, and they were like, problem is we need this in the next 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, well, it's 1 a.m. here. I've had 2 drinks, so I don't know how good this tape is gonna be. But I did it. I was like, I think it's the only tape I've ever done buzzed. Which is so crazy. And I sent it in, and I got an email 2 days later from Eric, before my agents ever called me, and he was like, I'm so excited you're gonna be my Becca. And I was like, wait, what? Is this a joke? And I went online and I started to look at a lot of the comic book source material, and I had a lot of questions for him when I wrote back. I was like, so what exactly, because my scenes were very tame. They were like the first scenes laying in bed with Butcher and Becca, like having this conversation about Spice Girls. And when I read the comics, I was like, holy, what the F are we doing? I was like, surely we're not really gonna go as far as the comics. It'll be like a tamed down version, right? Like, what kind of genre really are you going for? And he's like, oh no, we're going there. And I'm like, let me look into what Becca does a little bit more. But anything in Hollywood where you get to work with people that are loyal and believe in you, you know, I'm on that train because it doesn't happen very often. So I feel really grateful that I got to play Becca Butcher.
I never thought of this. So technically you're also Butcher.
Technically, I am also Butcher.
I'm calling you Butcher.
Sans accent.
You should have never told me. I'm calling you Butcher from now on.
Okay.
Both of your characters are so layered, and obviously they don't have superpowers, but I'm curious what their actual superpower is and how it kind of relates to the world of the boys. Because they're both very empathetic and they both have very interesting backstories for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Every season before the season started, I begged for powers. I just, being on a superhero show with no powers just felt terrible. And it was around season 3 when my character had his backstory finally told, and it connected the story with Soulja Boy and Mother's Milk's family, that I understood a little more why I can't have superpowers. Because MM's real superpower is his heart. And he has to be able to tell the story that you can still have an impact without needing to have the superpowers that everybody else has. It was a revelation almost. And I got it. And that's why that season, it was so important for me to show how fearless he was whenever he had to face Soulja Boy, and how ready to scrap he was. Like literally every time he'd see him, he'd put his dukes up and he's like challenging him, like, let's go right now. Even though Soulja Boy would have killed him with one punch. But in that moment, it was important to show what the power of human spirit is, what the power of human innovation is, of heart, of working together. That there's no obstacle that can hold us back when we operate, from a place of heart and justice and rightfulness and righteousness and spirit.
That's the exact kind of answer I was looking for. I love that. And then for Becca?
It's so complicated too with like what happened to Becca and the trauma that, was made clear throughout season 2 and what happened to her. I don't think that she would wish to have a superpower. Obviously in the face of everything, it's very difficult because her son that she loves very much is half soup and half human. And there's that battle of wanting the human side of things to win, to not just use an obvious power to gain access or get what you want or be right. I couldn't say what I think her superpower is because I think she'll always hate if you will, that side of who her son is and that side. But it's so interesting on the show because there's this conflicting feeling of it's all gray, right? Like humans aren't right and soups aren't wrong and vice versa. It's really up to your own choices. And I think that was something that, like, I remember so clearly having a conversation with Butcher on the bridge and just telling him and like trying to get through to him because it was like, well, we just kill your son. We just kill everything that's superhero because it's bad, you know, and understanding that it was much more gray and complex and really feeling like maybe I would say her superpower is that like she really believed that the goodness of whatever is in there behind everything could be what came through. And that was always what I think she wished and hoped for because her son is both, you know, and like to just believe that whatever is right and just and good would win, not human, not soup.
What is it like playing a character that has that like the moral compass for the entirety of everybody who's around them?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how relative morality becomes because MM was still killing people.
I mean, everything. I mean, that's something that the show does not lack is shock value. And like I said in the beginning, when I was referencing to Eric the source material, they were like, no, we're not going to shy away. You know, I think for me, one of the funniest and most shocking things was I showed up. I was shooting another television show while I was doing The Boys, and it was in LA, so I would come in for a few episodes and leave. And when I was gone, you know, lots would happen, and I would come back, and there would be a penis that was as long as this stage. Just laying in a corner, or showing up in photos, or in collages, and I'd be like, what the show is this? What happened while I was gone? Or when I showed up for season, I was just sharing this, when I showed up for season 4 to do, I think it was the scene with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and I, you know, where it kind of like reveals who he is. I won't say in case you haven't seen it. And we were with Carl, and they set our 3 chairs up in this sex den. And I was like, we're not shooting. What is that? Oh my gosh, what is that? And I mean, I remember like taking a picture and being like, this is where my chair is set up. Like where I go to like sit and read my lines and wait and rest and whatever. And I'm like, what have they been doing? And then there's a giant penis, another big giant one. And I'm like, this is just weirder and wilder and, you know, I'm here for it, okay? This is what people want. I guess this is what we're giving them. What was it for you?
I think for me it was just the fun we would have, like clowning each other behind the scenes. It was just, you know, Carl is a prankster, I'm a prankster. Tomer, to survive our pranks, became a prankster. Jack was getting pranked on constantly. You know, we just had so much fun. Like it really was or is a family vibe and energy. And the funniest stuff wasn't even on camera. It was behind the scenes. And you know, like I remember during Herogasm, the first episode, the first version of the script, because they give us rewrites constantly. The first version, MM wasn't getting covered in you know what. So I read the first version, and then I'm like, okay, cool, nothing happens to me this episode, I'm good. And then like one day, like everybody's in the trailer and they start making fun of me and laughing, and I'm like, what's going on? I want to laugh, what's so funny? And they're like, you haven't read the newest version? I'm like, yeah, whatever. I thought they were just they were trying to get me riled up. And I'm like, I ain't tripping. And so when I left the trailer, I went to PA, I was like, yo, can you please give me a copy of the latest version of the script? And she started smirking. Everybody was smirking. And that's when I went back to my trailer, and I'm going through and I'm looking for my name, and I finally find it. That moment when gets the, throwing ropes. Yeah, exactly. And so like, immediately I send an email to Quickie, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm politicking, and I'm fighting, and I'm doing my best lawyering. And clearly I lost that exchange. Then there was another day on set when we're shooting out in like this, we were shooting Countess, this lady, the red Countess, and it was in a rock quarry where we were shooting this scene, and the restrooms were like literally a mile down the road. It was hot, we were walking on rocks, our feet hurt, and so I said, you know what, I really gotta go to the bathroom. I held it for like 4 or 5 takes. I'm gonna run to behind this trailer, and while nobody's looking, I'm just gonna use the bathroom. So I go back there, and there are 2 construction guys back there also using the bathroom. So I go back there, and as soon as I come around, they start laughing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with all the laughs? And then they turn around and they're like, yo, have you seen the test runs of your scene? You get basically hosed down. And I'm like, no, I haven't seen them. They're like, do you want to see it? So they had it. Everybody had it in their phones. I'm still trying to find it. It's in my phone somewhere. I just can't find it for some reason. So they had all of these test runs. And they're basically wearing these white painter's outfits with these masks on, covered from head to toe. And they're getting blasted by cannons of like white substance. And what they were trying to do was find the right texture. So they had like 50 trials, and the guys are like completely soaked, and so now I'm mad. I'm like, this is what they're gonna cover me in? Like, this is ridiculous. Some was like super foamy, some was like looking like Ghostbusters, like you're completely covered. It was bad. It was bad. But those are like some of the funnier moments that you would never get to see.
No.
But my therapist didn't get to talk. I like that.
You know, it's interesting, my first day that I showed up on set to shoot, was when I was like finding out that I was like, kind of like the scenes where the doctor tells me I'm pregnant, you see like the glowing eyes thing, and then they were like, okay, we have this animatronic belly that like a hand is gonna come out of, and then you're gonna like gush blood everywhere, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what is happening? And then you're gonna wash off, and then you're gonna go to your sex scene with Carl, and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you, Carl. Okay, so, I'm sorry, I'm giving birth to an animatronic, half soup, half human, cool, yes, I definitely know how to play this as an actor. And I come in like, you know, the gown, and they have like this weird strapped on belly thing, and then they're like, hop up on the bed, and I was like, okay. And running down the bed is like a construction tube, like a tube, and it's running down, and they're like, okay, just spread your butt cheeks and straddle it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what job am I doing? Okay, so like I get on the bed and I'm straddling like this huge, like, it literally looked like a tube for plumbing in a building. And they were like, okay, so we're gonna, same thing, we're gonna do some tests, we're gonna see how the force of, you know, whatever's supposed to be coming out of you, blood and baby guts. And I was like, this is so interesting. I'm so confused because I'm also like flying in from LA doing a very different show about like 1960s space. And now I'm here and I'm giving birth to an animatronic baby. And like, hi Carl, nice to meet you. Okay, Eric, what are we doing? Okay, yes, and you're just gonna squirt blood all over people. And I'm like, I don't know why I chose this job. Like all the time on that show, I would be like, this is not what I thought I would be doing when I thought I'd become an actor.
You know what, with him, it's like, once he figures you out, what you don't like, get ready, he's gonna write a lot of it. That's really what it was. Because MM was safe seasons 1 and 2. I was clean until like somebody let him know that I like to be clean.
Weren't you the one that got choked by the long
Thanks for the reminder.
But that's what I'm saying. But as you were telling the story, it was like, but you were also picked on because you were the one that it like found.
Yeah, but
and then decided to choke, and I was
Shantel,
like, huh?
Shantel, I got this. I don't need your help.
I feel like he just always picked on you, you know?
I was still clean. I was still clean.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I see we have our first fan question.
We all know Kirky loves his music, and all our favorite shows have theme songs. What is your personal theme song?
From the show?
No, yours specifically.
Just in
Like
life.
mine is Anybody Ever Go Home for My Friends, the Joe Cocker version, not the Beatles version. But what would your personal theme song be?
Because I love music. Me personally as Shantel, the song that would be my theme song. I mean, I was gonna choose Pour Some Sugar on Me, but replace sugar. But that's for you.
No.
That's for you.
No.
Carry that in your life, you know?
You can have it. I've had enough sugar for one lifetime. I'm gonna stick with the show only because of the fact that Kripke loves music so much. There's certain songs that will forever be an emotional trigger for me that would have never happened had I not been on this show. And one of them is the Beach Boys. What's the song? Love you. I'm a terrible singer.
I would never.
Yes, that song is forever like embedded in my heart. That was season 2 or 3. I think it was season 3 finale episode, the closing montage. And it was like me, like picking up my daughter, and then gets reunited with his daughter, and he hugs her, and it's on my playlist now on my Spotify, and I love it. But I had never heard the song before prior to being on the show. So it's very important.
I choose Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles for me. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
That's a great question.
Exactly.
What's your name and what's your question?
My name's Tristan. I was curious, so I'm going to be finished Supernatural, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, if not, kind of have a two-parter, but if you've seen it, how do you guys feel about Eric Kripke's growth as a creator, show director, and things like that? And if not, you guys have both said you've read the comics, I'm hoping everybody has. How do you feel the show compares to the comics when it comes to things like your baby not necessarily being in the comics for most of it? We know what happens if you've read it. How do you feel it compares?
I never really watched Supernatural. I didn't grow up having a television. So for me, there's a lot of television that I still have never seen. Game of Thrones, I don't know, so many things. But I do know a lot about, the show Supernatural, and I of course think that, having been on another show of Eric's, Timeless, I've been able to see different iterations of somebody's career, and whether you're an actor, producer, director, I think the dream is to always evolve, evolution. There's this amazing quote that I had one of my dearest friends say to me, which is sometimes you want your career to be evolutionary, not revolutionary. You don't want just to have this one big hot moment. Instead, you just want to quietly evolve and learn and grow and show up in new and different evolved ways. And that's something that I appreciate about Eric, but also in every iteration of a show or the ways that he shows up, how he's loyal to people and believes that as actors we can do a different job more than just what we were in this show. We can do different parts, and that's something that really is missing in my mind in a lot of Hollywood. There is a lot of creative limitations to what maybe you look like or a way that you've gotten pigeonholed by certain shows. So that's my answer for that one. The comic, how do I feel? I mean, I always love, personally, when they take creative choices beyond the source material. I appreciate the source material for what it is. I actually am a big comic book reader, and I appreciate comic books, but like, when they remake something, sure, take, you know, parts of, you know, the heart with it, but make it your own. It's the same thing when you make a character, like, you know, and everybody has differing opinions about it. Some people are like, no, you have to stick strictly to this. It has to be this. This is who Superman is. This is who, you know, Batman is. And that's fine. But I personally believe that as actors and humans, we have something to bring to each character that is different than anybody else, that is different than what's written, or different than, you know, a different iteration that somebody may have played of that character. And that's what we're doing, is playing and making it our own. So I appreciate that.
I unfortunately never watched Supernatural. So this was my first experience working with Eric Kripke on a professional level, or being exposed to his work. And it was a great experience. It was probably my best experience in the business as a professional actor, primarily because he had an open door policy when it came to collaboration. When we'd get a script, he would allow us to pitch different ideas if we didn't like something, or if we had an idea, or if we thought maybe could we change this, whether it's dialogue or even content. You know, some things might not necessarily be completely in line with what happened the season before or 2 seasons before, and he really trusts us to know our characters and to be experts in our characters. MM specifically had to be an expert, not just of the character, but also the region, because he was the only New Yorker on The Boys. The Boys takes place in New York, but, you know, Butcher is from, New York in the house. All right? So Butcher's from the UK, Frenchie obviously is from France, Kamiko, Japan, Starlight's kind of like from Anywhere USA, and so MM was from Harlem. It was specifically from Harlem, and so there were a lot of Harlem-isms that had to be infused in the story that were not there on purpose. Eric never tried to become an expert on Harlem. He let me do that. That's my job as the actor. And so he would give me license to add things, whether it be in the clothes, in the shirts, in the shoes, in the music, in references, in dialogue, and how he said certain words, and how he expressed himself. He gave me that license, and as an actor, to be able to have that much control over your character and not somebody just telling you, look, just say what I told you to say, don't ask any questions, that feels really good. As far as the comic books are concerned, you know, from day one all the way up until the last scene that we shot in season 5, we've always tried our best to be as homage-driven as possible to the character and from the books. We really, really value the original core audience that came in already fans of the show, and we didn't want to let them down. Obviously, there's some changes because the show is satirical and narrating today's times, and that the comic was narrating times in the 90s. So there's some changes that we had to make, but for the most part, we always really, really made it our primary focus to try to be as authentic as possible to the source material.
That was a great question. I'm going to follow up on the supernatural of it all, because in the upcoming season, we have a couple more supernatural actors who are going to be on it. What was that like for you to see them? Because they have such an established language with each other, and they've done that show for so long. What was it like having them come into the show and get to be part of that family?
You know, I would never have known how successful Supernatural was by the way that they behaved on our set. I think it's the most complimentary way. Because they came in super humble, they came in super like, we're not coming in like, hey, we're the supernatural guys, move over, go grab your coffee. No, they were so kind, so humble, so giving, like, this is you guys' world, thank you for having us, you know, in your world now. And they were just all, and they were amazing, like amazing actors to work with. Not just as far as competency as an actor, but just hard working. You know, like, The Boys is a tough show. One thing I won't, you know, like, dress up, you know, is that that show kicked my ass every single season for 5 seasons. Like, it's a 14, 15-hour day. You're gonna get dirty, you're gonna get wet, you're gonna be cold, you're gonna be outside, you're gonna be in the worst weather, covered. If you're covered in blood, it's gonna be in the summer when the flies and the mosquitoes and the bees will attack you. And if you're covered in anything wet, it's gonna be in the winter, so that you can freeze your ass off. You know, like, they're gonna find a way to make it help. But, like, they came ready to play, and they weren't expecting any type of different treatment. Like, they came and they worked hard, and they were in the dirt with us. So I got tons of respect for those guys.
What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Mitchell. This is for Laz. Your character, Eminem, is also known for wearing different t-shirts of hip-hop groups and artists like Outkast, Eric B., Rakim, and MF Doom, to name a few. On the show, what was your favorite hip-hop shirt that you wore, and did you keep it after the shoot?
First of all, I kicked myself in the head. That's the only mistake I made, was I didn't steal the shirts. I didn't steal the shirts. I would give them back. I should have kept the shirts. I would say my first shirt that I wore of a hip hop artist, well, actually my first shirt was Public Enemy, but my favorite was Wu-Tang. I wore that episode 1 of season 2, I believe. Yep. And I'm gonna tell you why it was my favorite, because after season 2, I did a guest star on another show, and Method Man was on that show. And Method Man thanked me for wearing a Wu-Tang shirt on The Boys. Little did I know he's a comic book head. He loved The Boys comics, and he loved our show. So watching the Wu-Tang logo show up on the show, he was like really humble. So that'll always be a moment that I never saw coming. And then, you know, after that, it just became like part of my job now. I had to like constantly work with the wardrobe department, who the wardrobe department was amazing. We had to go through clearances and go through Sony and Sony Legal. And it was tough. Some of these artists, we had to reach out to them personally, because it's hard to get their, whoever, the representatives to give us permission to wear their stuff. And we needed it to air it. So yeah, it became like an additional job, but we knew how important it was to the fans.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't even know what memes are out there. What is a meme? Is it a GIF?
Anything with Homelander, bro.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's ridiculous. I mean, the faces that he made. I mean, I remember just shooting across from him and being like, what the fuck is his face doing? Okay, I can't be thinking about that. Yeah, I guess anything with Homelander.
Anything with Homelander. It's hard to pick one. Like, I literally have sent him every meme I've ever found of him. And he loves them. He loves them too. He's obsessed with his memes. Like, yeah.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
He's like, oh, I love my memes.
Okay, but you know what? I'm going to tell you a story. If there was a meme for this, it's an outtake that you guys will never see, and it's a moment that I have told Carl I was going to tell at everything ever because it's the best. So hopefully everybody here has seen season 2, I Die. And when I was dying in his arms on the floor, it was freezing cold. I'm covered in blood. Same thing.
Hour 14.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The sun is setting. Hurry up. We're gonna shoot Carl's coverage. And I'm off camera, so I'm laying on the ground, but I'm there so that, you know, we can say our final words to each other. And it's his close-up, so the camera's basically right next to my face here. And he's like saying goodbye to me. And, you know, they roll and he does one and he's like, no, I'm gonna do it again. And he leans down out of frame and he wipes his fucking snot on my cheek. Like on my face, like drips his snot on my cheek. And then he came up out of frame because he was crying so much and his head is down. And says the line and they're like, and cut. And I looked at him and I was like, did you really just wipe your snot on my face? And he's like, well, what was I supposed to do? I was like, use your sleeve. And he's like, well, it's dirty and bloody. And I was like, come on. That's how much I love
very common.
Yes, 100%.
That's very common.
And we were laughing about it, you know, post him sobbing his eyes out. But it's one thing to like cry and snot be dripping down, but like full on wipe my, you know. So I guess if I could have a meme of that, you know, like an outtake, that would be great.
Gosh, what a way to wrap up this panel.
I got things on me as well. You know, that weren't scripted.
You beat me. You got me beat.
Well, thank you both for coming. This was fantastic. If you didn't get to ask your question, you are at your tables this weekend. So then
we're next to each other, so you can't miss us.
That's it.
You know? Yeah.
Roommates.
Come see it. Yes.
Come on, bye. Bring a popcorn.
love it. Let's put our hands together.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Please give a huge round of applause for everybody. Shantel. From the Boys FanX. There you go. Now, we're gonna put a QR. Oh, we're gonna do a photo here. We're gonna have you guys turn. Can you guys pull out your phones, please? Pull out your phones. Turn your flashlights on, and we're gonna do a photo real quickly. All right, guys. On the count of three, I want you to go nuts. Ready? On the count of three, go nuts. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you guys want, we're gonna put a QR code right there on the screen. You guys can just put your phone on that and schedule a photo up and get an autograph with them. One more time, guys. They can still hear you. Please